So we're going to be working on our little boo sign. It is just made up of the 3 letters and a couple of decorations. Everything is truly glued down, so it's not going to shift or move if it's on your mantle and somebody bumps it or picks it up or moves it or anything. But to start, we're going to do our 3 letters and then we'll kind of go from there. So to do that, we have our bee stuff set up. I have decorated the decorative panels already, so it looks like the old wood. These were cut from the same paper at the same time, so just a little time and a couple of resources, the inks and everything, and you can get a very different look to your paper. But to start with, we have the 2 panels that are the actual bee shape. We've got 2 panels that go around the outside of the bee, and then these are for the holes inside, so you don't have an open gap or anything you're going to see. It'll be a nice solid closed look. So to start, what we're going to do is I want to start with this one that faces the bee in the correct direction. You'll notice that there's a panel at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold that one. And then on the top is a little square. I just got a little hole kind of cut out of it there, just so you can keep track of which one of these panels, of these tabs, is going to attach on there. So this has the little squares as well, just so that it's easy to find. There's no real question which one goes where. It's a good place to start with that one as well. So I'm going to start by folding all of my score lines. Just kind of get them a little pre-folded, makes it easier later when you get everything into position. So I'll just fold all of those over. So this is going to be the side that goes along here and down. And this is the part that's going to make the 2 bee, the bumps on the bee. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that as well. And all of these can be folded back. There we go. I'm going to start off with the bee facing the direction I want it to be in this panel here. And what I want to do is glue it around here. And I want to do it this way so that way the tabs are covering over on this side instead of the other side. And I'll explain that more when we get there. But for now, I'm going to take this whole thing and turn it over. So now it looks backwards and it's going that direction. I'm going to add glue to my panel with the square and the next one, because that's going to help me make a 90-degree corner and make sure that everything is in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and press it into that corner. And let me get it in position and then I can pick it up and show you a little bit better. Give it a good push. So there we go. It makes that nice corner. I know that this end is located at exactly the right spot where I want it to be. And on the inside, it's just kind of using the shape of the bee to get it into position. So now I'm going to add glue to this tab. This one. I like to only go a couple of them at a time just to make sure that I am getting everything exactly positioned right. I don't want anything out of place because then my bee won't have the right shape and size for my decorative panel to cover it. So there we go. It's a nice good push. You can see how it's kind of running along there. Now I'm going to take these 2 tabs, add some more glue, and fold it around that corner. And I'm pushing from behind to make sure that this panel is up against that fold where the side panel folds for the tab so that you get that nice snug fit. So there we go. Now we have part of our bee built. The next part is kind of up to you if you want to do the centerpieces or if you want to do the part that makes the bumps of the bee. It depends on how you feel with putting your fingers in. I like to do the holes in the center next, just because that isn't in my way. But if you happen to forget and you put this up next, that's totally fine too. Again, I'm folding all of my tabs, and you'll notice these look very similar. This one's a little bit bigger and it does not have the little hole on one tab. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a little hole on one tab. So the smaller one with the hole is the top, and the slightly bigger one with no hole goes in the bottom. Fold it around on my glue and close it up. So, and I need to make sure that that is really well set because it's a pretty snug fit, so we're going to be pushing this paper a little bit. I want to make sure it's set before I start to move it around like that. So I'll work on this one. Kind of encouraging, using my finger to kind of make this curve, because where these little tiny ones are at, that's the curving part right here. There we go. Let that set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this through there, and you'll notice it doesn't really want to go because they're basically the same size. The nice thing is I can push in here and kind of get these out of the way and get it through just by curving it in. So now you can see that it's dented inward. That is actually going to be okay. It's going to be on the inside. You're not going to really see if you happen to get a little crease. But once you get it through, take your fingers, slide a finger in there, and pop it out so that it becomes its proper curved shape again. So I'm going to take my glue and put a little bit on each one of these tabs. Notice how my one with a hole in it is the tab on the side over here, and I've got the top and bottom of my bee have the triangles, and the curve matches up with my curve. There we go. I'm going to fold them outward. Turn it over and slide the panel down, pushing to get a little bit of a connection. There, and now they're all glued in place. A couple of these aren't wanting to stick right now. I could add some more glue, but it's fine. All of that's going to be covered up. I'm going to go ahead and do my next one. Again, I'm going to have to push that in a little bit, and that's fine. And I can come from either direction, it doesn't matter. But I'm getting the bottom and the sides in place and then kind of folding it and pushing it through. There we go. Take my finger and pop it so that it comes out nice and smooth. There we go. And this is going to be on the inside of the bee. You're not really going to see it. So if you have any little creases or whatever that happens in this, it's okay. It just means that you don't have a big hole in the middle of your letters when you're looking at your final product. Fold all those out. Now a lot of the time when I'm doing this, glue kind of comes out and gets onto my work surface. So usually I actually have a piece of scratch paper or something that I put underneath for this part, so that way I'm not getting glue where I'm putting all of my materials, especially if I'm working with my decorative panels or something. I don't want to get glue all over them. I do know I tend to be a messy gluer, so I try to have something there to help me out. Now I'm going to fold these outward, because later I'm going to add glue to them And we're going to take this B and glue it down over the whole thing. So I don't want these tabs coming in. I don't want them to be seen as best as possible. All right, with that secure, I'm going to go ahead and add glue to this tab so that I can start working on getting the curve of my B in place. And if you wanted to, you could actually have attached this panel, this long one, to this one here before you started putting it on the B. That would be fine as well. I've done it both ways in our various practice runs, and it's kind of been the same either way. It doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on here and curve it around. This fold is going to go deep into there. And I forgot to mention, if you look, because this curve here and this curve here are not the same, this is a little bit shorter, and you can tell which end to put over here because there's no tab. So it'll line up nicely. Just put it up there. So I'm going to add my glue. And this is one of those where I really do kind of want my scratch paper to slide under there because I know this is going to be a little bit messy. Put those back over. And I'm going to curve it in. There we go. Got that pushed into place. Move these tabs out of my way so I can move my finger a little bit more. And I'm going to give a good push all around where those tabs are. Try to keep my B nice and flat. I don't want any of this to be warped or anything because I'll have a kind of a wonky letter when I'm done. But depending on the effect you're looking for, that might actually suit pretty well. I'd kind of like mine to be a little square. So now you can see they're all in place. And if anything happens to slip or move while you're doing the next one, you just need to give them another push, maybe a little longer for the glue to set, but it's all good. So there we go. Fold this back over. And there we go. My finger there at the end. If I can keep this last tab in position really well, and I know it's exactly where it should be, the rest of them will actually land nice and snug on their own without having to do too much to make that happen. So there we go. We have that side of our B completely done. I like having the tabs on this side where you're looking at it correctly so that I can add this on top. I feel like it gives it a little bit of a better look. On the back, because we don't have as much control, I like to have that hidden on the back side of my letter. If you happen to accidentally do it the other way around, it's not a big deal. There's really no real difference between the two. I just I like it the other way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my B and I'm going to add some glue up here. And I'm going to slowly work my way around to get that into place. I want to make sure my corner up here is just right. All of this is just right before I give it a good push, because getting this set in place correctly will help everything else line up better. And I like to do it in pieces. And go ahead and start by doing just these two tabs. I love on my glue having this little metal tip. I can get into tight little spots so I don't have to do everything all in one go. I'm going to use my hand because this kind of wants to pull down, so it's not a true 90-degree corner, but this is. So I'm going to push that in just a little bit, make it a nice 90-degree corner. In checking with my fingers, I can feel that that is flush on both sides. I'll just let my glue set. when I'm doing this on my own, not trying to video it, I will actually sit and take a little bit longer, but you probably don't want to just watch me holding my fingers on a tab for a while. So I'll go ahead and keep moving a little bit. I'm going to do it in pieces again. So I am going to come in here and I'm going to add glue onto the tabs for the inside of the bee, just that top part. You could do this bottom one too, but I kind of want to wait. I've got this little narrow tip so I can squeeze in later. But you can see there I've got that bee done, top of the bee. And now I'm going to add glue to all these little tabs on that first rounded part of the bee. That way I can focus on getting just that one in position. Use my fingers. Make sure those tabs are on the inside. And there we go. If you get a little glue escaping and it gets a little bit messy, it's okay. That's why we have decorative panels. So I want to make sure that those are very secure because I will have to be moving this around a little bit. Next, I'm actually going to come and do this part here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the corner as well. Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just do the one long panel, actually. I think it'll be easier. And maybe you're a little more confident with your gluing and everything. I like to go just a couple pieces at a time. If you want to go and do all of them in one, have at it. Everybody has a different way of gluing. I tend to be really messy, and I'm trying really hard not to be as messy. And this is the best I've figured out to try to help control my messiness. If you can't get through that way, you can always try to come in this way with your glue if you want. It's not as ideal, but it does work. So I'm going to add my glue to the tabs. I'm going to go ahead and hit my curve. And I'm going to get my curve position first. There we go. I get that in place. I'm going to keep this one here. And then I can use my other hand to kind of position that one and hide it away. It's okay if it's not quite exact. Usually you can kind of shift it still. There we go. And now I'm going to get that part. And again, I need it to be a nice little 90-degree corner. Using my fingers, I can do that. Getting glue all over. It's just the way of being for me, I guess. There we go. So now I have a completed bee. We are going to end up putting it onto this bottom panel here. It's got cutouts for each one of the letters, so you'll know exactly where to put each one. And that is why we have the 4 tabs here at the bottom. These tabs here are going to be used to attach it to that panel. But we have decorative panels to cover along here, and then the front and the back both. So to put them on, just as simple as gluing them and getting it lined up, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one on. I'm going to try to get close to that edge there because I don't want it to come up or come loose or anything. And then just kind of go around. You can start with any one of the pieces you want on your bee. Doesn't matter. Go ahead and start with the front just because it's kind of fun. And then you'll notice, obviously this one's for the back. So I'll go ahead and attach that here in a minute. But there are 3 pieces that are going to go around the outside. There is, it's kind of hard to see, but this one here, I should have marked it on the back, but there are little score lines on here. There we go. Usually if I'm doing this much decorative on the front, I'll actually take a white or a black pen and I'll mark the back so I can easily see my score lines. I didn't do that this time. I really should have. There's one there. I think there's another one right there. So what I'm going to end up doing is taking this one here, and I'm going to glue it on here, just like that. A little bit of a push there. Sorry, I had to stop in order to get my score lines because I didn't mark them like I really should have, so it was a little hard to see exactly where they go. So if you're going to do a lot of decorating, it would really be helpful if you put your score lines on the back side. Just take a pen and kind of mark where they're at, just so that it's easy to tell which end is where. Because you're going to start with this long one, and it is going to go in there. Cover the back of the bee and put it nice and square. Make sure it's pushed all the way into that corner. Once you have it secure and you're feeling good about that, you can come along and add more. Actually, on this side would be better. Get real close to that edge. Oops. There we go. Just one piece at a time. Work your way around. Make sure you get it nice and smooth. You're going to curve it around and into the bee, the bend in the bee. And then you have the last panel, which is the bottom part of your bend. The letter there. Put it in the, and around it goes. So I have a nicely covered bee in the front, sides all the way around. Now I just need to cover up the back and it will be done. There we have it. Make sure everything is lined up correctly. Give it a good push. Squeeze through in there. And there we have it. We'll work on the O's next. Okay, so next we're going to make the O. I've got the B done, and I have a completed O here so to show you what it looks like. We're going to build the structure underneath and then again cover it in our decorative panels. And the inside of it is made of the two that go around here. One panel that goes on the inside so that way you don't see into your O. And then our decorative panels. So we'll set those aside for now. And what we have are these two pieces that are going to go around the outside. You'll notice that this one has a small tab and a large tab. And this one has a square end, kind of a squarish panel, and then a large tab. So this panel we're going to be attaching on the flattened top of our O. And these larger tabs, this one here and this one here, are going to both land at the bottom of our O. So that way we can attach it to the base of our sign later. So I'm going to take the small tab end, go ahead and fold it, encourage this to curve, and then I am going to take some glue, and I'm going to add glue to the tab, the small tab, and I am going to attach it to the back of that square piece because that's going to be on the top center of our O. And so now we have this part and this part that will curve around our O. So I'll make sure that's nice and squared up. There we go. And I'm going to fold over the tabs on one side for right now. Go ahead and fold this tab in the end, kind of get it out of my way for later, and the same with that one. So I'm going to take my glue and put it right there. And like I said, there's a flat spot right across the top, and I'm going to center that on this tab. Make sure I get it right into that bend. All right, so I have my glue in place, my tab is in place. I am going to add glue to the tabs on one half of my O. And because I do kind of expect this to make a little bit of a mess, I just don't want to get my work surface too dirty. Pull out my paper, have this folded over, and just kind of wrap it around and tuck it underneath. Make sure that gets secure. I don't quite have that centered, so I'm going to have to pull that off. It's all right. It happens on occasion where I just don't quite line it up right. I'm going to go ahead and fix that real quick. Otherwise, my pieces aren't going to all fit correctly. I'm going to go ahead and... There we go. That looks much better. I want to make sure that the corner of that flat piece lines up with the fold lines right there on either side. There we have it. All right. Put a little fresh glue on some of these and make sure it's ready. Okay, we'll give that another try. Oh yeah, that looks better. I could tell it wasn't quite right because my end did not reach all the way down to the bottom. It stopped a little bit short. So I knew it couldn't be centered correctly at the top. Give a good push to all of those tabs. I want this nice and strong and secure. And I like being able to reach across, and that's why I haven't put my centerpiece in yet. Just have a little bit more ability to move and get to the parts I need to push on. So there we go. That looks nice. Set up there. Now I'm going to let that sit for a moment. And I'm going to curve that, fold, curve. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold on that spot. I'm going to glue my tab to create a little loop. And we're going to slide that through in the center over here. And just like with the B, this is snug, and that's on purpose. We don't want it to be loose, because if it's a little bit loose, you're going to see it through later. Your decorative panels won't be able to hide it as easily. So, all right, that's secure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the side and the ends in. I'm going to push this top one down just a little bit to kind of help everything go through the hole. So that was nice and easy. Now I'm going to take it, I'm going to reach in and pop it out. So that way it matches the shape of my O. So take that, get it into kind of close position, have these fold, make sure that they have a good fold, and then I can bring them up and add some glue. All right, got them all. Fold these back down. There. Now you might want to take some time and make sure that all of this is really pushed down. You've got a good strong hold. You don't have any little tabs letting go, but that takes a little time, and you probably don't want to watch me just sit here and keep pushing on paper. I do want to say that because I did have to tear it off, I did damage the paper a little bit. That's actually not too big a deal. I want to kind of get rid of my little runner there a little bit, but it's fine. That is one of the nice things about it is later, I'll just cover that up with a decorative panel. Nobody will be the wiser. There's no real damage done. So now I am going to do the other half of the O shape. Curve that around. And if you want, you can do this in a couple of stages, like do half the O, like half the panel, and then half the panel. That's up to you. How much you're comfortable with doing in one go is just fine. I feel pretty good about that. So while I'm holding that, I'm going to go ahead and fold these tabs over so I can have them glue to the back side of my other O panel. I'm going to fold these in. There we go. And I have my other O panel. I'm going to go ahead and start it by gluing up here. And making sure I line this up just right. Same as I tried to do, at least on the other side. There we have it. All right. Now for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this half of the O both inside and outside to start with. So I can get this half positioned how I want it. Then I'll take advantage of my little metal tip to reach in underneath and do the other half. Now if you don't have a metal tip and you have a tight spot you're trying to get into, you can make a little puddle of glue and then use something like a toothpick to dip into the glue, and then use the toothpick to reach into that tight space for you, so then you can kind of get in there. Some glue bottles just have that larger tip on it and it just doesn't reach in as nicely. So there we have that. While I'm holding that, I can also hold the inside. Make sure that that's where I want it to be. Now I'm going to add to the inside of these tabs and then also I'll show you in just a second what I'm doing here. I'm putting glue on all the outer tabs and the ones for the inner structure as well. I don't know if you can see that very well. Now I'm going to get my outer tabs in position first. And then I can come back and slide those over, and there we go. Oops. Of course, I made a glue mess, but you know, that's why decorative panels are the way to go. Just cover up the mess and nobody ever know the difference. So I need to make sure that tab is in. I gotta have those nice and clear because I've got those 4 that are going to go in later to our base panel so that we can create the sign itself. There we go. So plenty of glue. Just cover it up. Right, happy with that. A good push on this side. And we've got 2 decorative panels. One of them has a tab on it that I just kind of folded, and the other one is just straight. And so again, this is going to go across the top, and then these are the parts that are going to create the curve of the O. That looks nice. I am going to go ahead and start with this part here. Make sure I get close to that edge there and run the glue along. And there you have it. Side is covered. Just run my hands along, make sure it's smooth. You can really take your time and get this nicely lined up, both for building the O and for decorating it. There we go. And the nice thing is with this O is it's the same front and back. So when you're all done, you can pick your favorite side to make the front of your structure. There we go. Want this to curve. I'll get this added on the other side of my O, and then we can get started putting the whole thing together and getting it all decorated. So there we go. I'll go ahead and get that glued on, but that is how you put together your little letters for Boo. Alright, so now that we have our letters done, we need to start working on putting together our base, which is going to be made of 2 plain panels. Don't need to decorate, don't need to use any kind of special paper for them. And then the sides, over here I have my decorative panels that I've kind of added some ink to just to kind of make it look a little less perfect and clean of a paper. It started out kind of like this, and I've added just some ink to dirty it up basically. So I've got that. And then you're going to need 2 panels. Actually, I'm going to use a different green to make your the box that's going to go on the bottom. You're also going to need foam board, which we just went down to the craft store, got a large piece of foam board. The file comes with a template. It's just slightly smaller than what the actual box is. And you're going to use that with a craft knife or something to just cut your foam board down to size. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and fold on all these score lines. We're going to attach these panels end to end and basically make a large rectangular frame to put our piece in here. Normally I'd use the same color of paper for the inside as I do for the decorative panels, but I've been messing around trying to get the right green, and I don't want to keep cutting more and more paper. So this will be fine. It'll get covered. If I need to, I can ink the corners a little bit to kind of cover up any little seam that might show through of a brighter green. It'll all work out fine though. So I'm going to take my long one and a short one. Make sure you get them in the right order, because if they are not in the right order, you're going to have a strange shape rather than a nice long rectangle. So long, short, that means long is up next. it nice and lined up with that fold line. Your score lines act as a spot to fold, but also a guide for where you want to put your paper at. Go ahead and get this one done. There we go. All right. Now, see, I've got my nice big rectangle shape. I can bring in that bottom one. There we go. Get that tab folded in. So what I'm going to need to do is add glue. Make sure you get it along the entire tab up into the fold line as well as all the way to the end. All right, then I'm going to take this one and put it on the inside. You're never going to see this one. We're going to end up covering it up later. So if you have a paper you don't really like, that might make a good one to cut for this. This inside panel. Let's just kind of close it off and give us our shape and everything in position, but it won't actually be visible. Press on all those tabs, pushing on the other side to make sure that I get it nice and snug. I don't want to have a big gap or bulging or something, because then the other panels won't look or fit quite so well. Okay. We're going to eventually take this decorative one and it's going to glue down here, so it doesn't matter which this is. What we're going to do now is I have my foam board that I've cut. I'm going to just fit it into here. Looks like I didn't do a very straight line, that's fine. Doesn't really matter. It's mostly there just to provide a little bit of support so that your base doesn't buckle inward over time as it sits out and as a decoration, or if you store it or something. It's going to be a little bit of weight on the top with all the decorations, and so it could end up buckling over time. Now if you end up cutting your foam board too long, mine's not quite, but I'm real close, you can actually just go ahead and take your craft knife and shave it down a little bit. It doesn't have to be the exact size of your base. I'm going to go ahead and glue it just to kind of give a little bit more strength. I don't want it to shift in there somehow. Just like the idea of it being secure. There we go. Make sure it's glued in there. Then I'm going to fold over these tabs. Now, I'm going to glue this one in place. Start the long one. I'm going to try to get that glue real close to the edge of the tab, right near that fold line, so that I don't end up with a gap or something like that later where it's trying to buckle. This one I did not add my decorative inking to or anything, just because it's going to be on the bottom. Nobody's ever going to see it. I could have if I was wanting to practice my inking to see if I liked the way it was going to come out. This might be the paper you want to do your trial run on, because it's just going to sit. You're never going to see it. So this is the bottom of your base now. I'm going to go ahead and add glue to all my other tabs. Make sure to line all that up. There you have it. Turn it over. Nice hard push. You can push down on this in the middle because I have that foam board. If it was hollow, I couldn't get away with doing that. And there we go. Looks like I didn't quite get my tabs snugged all the way over. I think my foam board is just a little long, but it's okay. When you're not on camera, you can take more time and really shave that down and get a little bit better. I probably had it slip a little bit while I was putting it on my foam board and didn't catch that. It was a little too long. It's all right. So we have 4 decorative panels. We're going to go ahead and put them on the sides of our base. Just add some glue and put them on there. Oops. There we go. Make sure it's flush on either side. All right. Get all 4 of them in place, and then we can move on to the next step. We'll be able to set aside this base for a little bit. Last one. There we go. Happy with that. Looks nice over here. Feel like that's a good fit. We'll set that aside. Now we have our B, our O, and our O that we can go ahead and attach to our decorative face. The O's are the same. You can, if you like one better than the other, you can put one in the middle, whatever works. What I'm going to do to attach the B, I'm going to make sure I have it facing the correct direction. I don't want to, I mean, it'd be scary, but I don't really want my B backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over that way, so I know that that's correct. And then my tabs are going to slide through here. So I'm going to start by securing the end tabs. Plenty of glue, fold it over. Just enough that it'll stay in place while I add glue to my other 2 tabs. There we go. Fold that out, and now I'm going to push down. If you have something real thin and narrow, you can slide it in here to apply a little extra pressure to the tab that's on this side, because the curve of that B makes it a little bit hard to get in there. If I had a ruler or something, I could slide it under there and put some little extra pressure on there, but it'll be fine. So, here we go. Tabs are in place. It's nice and secure. Now I can do my O. I think that'll work. So, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Just have it come through the bottom. Get my tabs prepared. Just do 2 at a time, so that way I don't have 4 of them that I'm trying to make sure are correctly positioned when I flip it over. There we have it. Now, depending on how good a job you did putting your O together, it'll fit really well through this hole. If your O came out a little curved or you were having some problems with the tabs, you can still get it to go in through this hole. It just might be a little crooked. Okay. And this is where having a ruler or something like that could be very helpful. You can get under both sides of this O and push down. But I think I'm happy with that. And I'm going to do the same thing with my last O. Once these tabs are all nice and dry, if you have them really secure, as long as you're gentle, you can turn this over and it shouldn't be a problem at all. Place my O through here again. Alright, turn that over and push it down. Alright, so the boo is nice and secure. And the next thing we have, and let that sit and the glue can dry, is we're going to assemble our little trees that will go back behind the first, well, the B and the second O. So it's just a couple of pieces together, and then you've got your tabs down here that will help it to be secured. And to put it together, it is made using just a couple of pieces. I've got those two that are going to make one side, these two that are going to make the other side, and then these pieces that they will attach to. So to start, there's a little fold line. You'll see along here you've got some little score lines. You can fold on there, and then fold on here. And you're going to put glue on one of these and attach it back to back. That way you have two little tabs to use for your assembly. There we go. Line those up. And then just work your way around, making sure you have it all lined up and the tips are coming together. There we have it. Now you're going to take one of these, going to add some glue onto this tab here and over here, and then you're going to slide it into the slot all the way up to the top so that you have two tabs at the bottom to attach to the boo sign base. Give that a nice little push. I can fold up my tabs, and there we go. That's half of our tree. Now we're going to just go ahead and do the other half. Then we'll have two trees ready to go, because I already assembled this one. So we'll just go ahead and attach them both onto the boo sign. There's two little slots you'll notice in the corners that are kind of at an angle. And that's where the tabs on these trees are going to go through so that it is very secure and they get into a good spot on the platform. Go. All right, you've got the tabs here. So now that we have this, we're going to glue them back to back. So that way we have a tree that has a couple different sides and a little bit more depth to it. Just add glue over the whole thing here. It doesn't take too much glue. This isn't really going to be too structural. You just need your pieces to stay together. There we go. Line it up. Getting some glue on my fingers. There we go. All right, so there is our tree. It's got a nice little shape to it, and this one is a little bit different, so there are two unique trees. You could, if you want, just use the same tree in both spots, but you have the option. So what we're going to do is these little slots back here, we're going to want to slide our tabs down in there. And the best way to do that is if we just turn it around and tip it up. Now, I can't do it this way because the trees are taller than the letters, so they'll hit my table. But if I lay it at an angle, I can go ahead and take one of my trees and slide it through the slot. Get those tabs to go through your slot. It's kind of awkward trying to do it on camera so you can see what I'm doing. But here's my tabs. You can see that there's all four of them have come through. I'm going to add glue here. And then on the other side, so that way all four tabs can be spread out and glued down. Turn my boo back correctly. Make sure my tree stays nice and secure. Now I'm going to repeat that for the other side. Make sure I get all four tabs to go through. Now I can add my glue. Trying to do this left-handed is awkward. There we go. Tabs are each correctly positioned. Set it down. There we have our little boo with our trees in place. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and put it on my platform. Alright, so the easiest way to get it onto the platform is to just go ahead and add glue all the way around the edges of your platform. You want to get real close to that edge. You don't want your paper to have a gap or anything. Sometimes it'll lift up a little bit. Run along there. And just put some glue in the middle so that all of the paper is well and truly attached. Alright, I'm going to take my boo and set it straight down on there. Make sure it's lined up the way I want it to be. And I can go ahead and press it into place. Now, I used different colored green for the inside versus the outside. So you can see just a little bit of an edging here, which is fine. I will come back. I already went back and did some black inking around the outside of my letters. So I'm going to either do some brown or black on the edges of this anyway, and it'll cover up any little seam that you can see, especially because I did use different colors. And also my foam board was just a little too big. I should have shaved that down so it kind of shifted my board. That's okay. Not the end of the world. All right, so the boo sign is coming together. That's looking pretty cool. Our next part is just a couple of little decorations. And for one of those, we have a spider web, which unfortunately is getting stuck on my pumpkin pieces. There we go. So I've got my little spider web, and you can kind of choose how you want to line it up onto the boo. I like it when I put this longer piece over, going up and down on my O, and then it kind of stretches across. There's not marked spots, kind of do what's comfortable for you. Maybe you want it on the two O's. I don't know, maybe you want to put it in the middle of an O. I kind of like it stretching across between the two. I chose to cut this out in vellum instead of regular cardstock. Thought it kind of gave a little, I don't know, slightly different look to it. Before I put it up, I do want to put one of my little spiders on. So I am going to get a piece of scratch paper so that I don't get glue all over my work surface. I'll put just a little bit of glue on my spider. And then I'm going to put him on my vellum. There we go. So there we go. I've got my little spider on my, you can kind of see it there, my little spider web. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to only put glue on these two at the very corner and get them held in place where I want them to be before I add glue to the other side. Mostly because while I'm getting these in position, that glue is going to dry out, and then I'm going to have to re-glue it, and it's got kind of that lumpy residue, and it's just not going to work as well for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add just a little dab of glue here and here. It's probably hard to see with the white background, but just those two little spots. I'm going to hold my web where I'm going to want it to be. And let these two set so that I can then stretch it across to my bee. Let's see if I can show that. I just kind of held it where I liked it at, a spot I kind of liked it, and pressed the ends of my web into place. You can see a little bit of that glue right now. That's going to disappear. Once it dries, you won't even know it's there. And then I'm going to add just a little touch of glue here, here, and maybe even on that one there, and press it onto my bee. Clean up my glue bottle. Here we go. Just a little, each one of those spots. Bring it around the way I want it. Encourage it to lay the way I want. There we go. Now I can just push those little pieces down. It's very ends into place. There we have it. Clean up any extra glue. We have our little boo with a little spider on there. So I'm happy with how he's looking. I did cut an extra spider that I might put somewhere. I might not, we'll see. So for our pumpkin, I just cut this in orange, and then I think I took 2 shades of brown, a green, and a gray. The Tim Holtz Distressing ink, and I just took a dabber and just kind of dabbed it on until I kind of got the effect I was after. I wanted kind of a messy pumpkin. So we're going to go ahead and form our pumpkin, and then we'll put our other pieces together on it. To start, I'm going to encourage these pieces to curl. It'll just help us later with the gluing of the tabs and getting it into position. Fold my tabs over, add a little bit of glue, and then bring it around and hold it in place. Once I'm certain those are nice and secure, keep your fingers clean. You don't want glue all over. I'm the messiest gluer ever. Add a little bit more and keep on going. It gets a little small towards the end. If you need to, you can always use a pair of tweezers or something to reach inside and hold it in place. Especially if you get that bottom tab positioned, the rest of them kind of fall into place on their own. So if there's some glue on it and you can't reach up there, just get this bottom tab where you need it to be and it'll all work out. All right, so I've gone ahead and kept going, and now I'm on just my last couple of tabs. So I got my glue on there. I am going to fold it around and go ahead and get it in position and hold it while the glue sets. All right, and while that's setting, we have our stem, the bottom of our pumpkin, and then I've got a couple of leaves and what's going to be a little bit of vine. I'll probably only use 2 of these, but sometimes, I don't know, we'll see. Depends on what it looks like and how I'm feeling with the way things are coming together. All right, that glue is not quite set. That's all right. I need some tweezers to give that a good push. All right, I went and grabbed a pair of tweezers to reach in there, gave it a little squeeze, and now my pumpkin is all in one piece. I can fold in my tabs. And I'm going to go ahead and close it up, even though this is probably the side I'm going to go ahead and put face down onto my platform. Just never know, maybe I like this side best. But put that in place. Now I'm going to give it a good little push. There we go. All right, let's set that aside. Good enough. The tweezers will be handy for this as well. I've got my little stem. I'm going to curve it around. I've got a little tab, triangle tab there at the end. Put a little glue on. Fold it around. Get it in position. And grab it with my tweezers. That way I can get inside and push really hard, get it into kind of hold the way I need it to, make my little loop. While I'm waiting, I can go ahead and fold over these tabs. There we go. All right, that's good. Now I'm also going to fold these tabs in. They are going to help create a little circle so that I can put my top panel on over here. Now I have it lined up as best I can so everything is nice and round at the top. And I just hold it with my fingers. Keep it in position while that glue sets. Then I'm going to end up gluing my little pumpkin, kind of like it right there. I think that should work out okay. I have a couple of pieces of grass. I'm not sure where they are at the moment. I'll have to go find them. I want to put them, before I do my pumpkin, I'm going to want to put them on the O's and on my B to get in there before the pumpkin blocks me. So I'll have to go grab those. All right, so I've got my grass. There's just 3 different ones, different lengths, different look to them. You can pick which one goes where, however you want. I'm gonna just go ahead and grab this one. I'll put a little bit of glue along the back of the grass and some coming up in the middle, just so that I can attach it to my bee. So I'll go ahead, do that. I know that these ones were showing up as going on the bee body of it. And then I'm going to just press it into place. There we have it. a little bit of grass. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my O. So as you can see there, I'm going to go ahead and put it along the bottom of the grass, and then those kind of two taller ones, just so they don't fold forward too much. Or I could choose to do that and have them kind of bent so that they come off of the O a little bit and get a little more depth to them. You can do however you want to make it look the way you want it to look. There we go. See? You can see that there. I got my B and the first O of their grass. Now I can do my other O. Go ahead and just set it down there. And you can put whichever grass you want where. They're all a little bit different just to provide some variety. You can do it however works best for you. So now I can go ahead and put my pumpkin in and feel okay with it over there. It's kind of in the way otherwise if I haven't done my grass yet. So to get my pumpkin ready, I have a paper roller for like quilling or something. I know a lot of people use it for making flowers. So I'm going to take that and roll up one of my vines. And you can do this in various ways. I just want to have that little bit of a curly Q action going on there. So now I'm going to add a little glue to one end. I'm going to press it down on top of my pumpkin. Just like that. Now I'm going to take one of my leaves and kind of fold it in half a little bit. I'm going to take my other leaf and do the same. So what I'm going to do is have them sit together back to back. I don't want them flat, I just want their corners here to come together so that they kind of lift each other up a little bit. And you can put your leaves down just next to each other, you could just use one leaf. Just kind of play around with your pumpkin and make it fit the way you want it to look. I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to bend the bottom in just a little bit because now I'm going to put some glue on there. I'm going to put my leaves down next to that vine. Reach in there, push on that one too. See, now they're kind of standing up. If I wait for a minute and have that glue really dry, I don't have to worry about them tipping over as I put on one of my other vines. I haven't forgotten my stem yet. I'll do that in just a moment. There we go. This one maybe I'll stretch out a little bit more. There we have it. I'm going to add my glue to one end here and go ahead and press that one down. So I could even just stop there and not put on my stem, but I'm going to go ahead and slide my stem in right there between the vines and up against that leaf a little bit so I can have a little pumpkin. I'll hold that down and just have it glued in position there. You can kind of see that. I've got my cute little vines, kind of arrange them. Alright, now I'm going to just add a fair amount of glue to the bottom. I don't want it to move at all, and also if it's got a little warp to it, it may not make full contact. So kind of think about how my vines look and where it is. And my spider web, I'm going to just put it a little off center. There we go. I'm going to slide it just over a little bit more. There. Press it down. got my little pumpkin in place. Here we go. Now, just for the fun of it, I think I will go ahead. I don't really want my spider. I think I'll pass on an extra spider. So one thing you might notice is with all the movement, sometimes your trees will start to tip over a little bit. So what I did is I looked on the back and I saw which one here, like that one there, it's kind of hard to see in there, and this little guy here, when you stand it upright, it just almost touches the letters. So I went ahead and added a tiny little dot of hot glue and tipped it forward that little bit extra, so they're just slightly tacked to the back of the letters. That way they're a little stronger. They're not only depending on these little tabs at the bottom to keep them upright. And now we have our little boo sign. There you go.